And then I walked. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know you still works. And I was like, pulling in all that and not good anymore. And I was like, trying to bring up those two bananas onto the, back to their floor, but I can't remember which floor was it on. So I was like, see this guy, I'm like, I should ask him. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. And I'm like, you know, I'm so confused in my head. I'm so confused in my head, and I'm like, and you can know, you could tell, he's like, oh, I've seen this girl before, I'm like, and I knew his name, but he couldn't find it, and I was just like, oh, I said she would be good, I don't know where to bring those bananas back to. He's like, probably on this one, I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's how one, but yeah, crazy that he's still on the.
So how?
She had a good word.
Yeah, like how long ago? Like a week ago, you said?
Well, like 3 weeks.
3 weeks ago. Okay, well, that's so exciting for her.
Mhm.
Cause she graduated nursing and everything.
Yeah,
now.
she works at NICU and then at HC and then. Labor and delivery. So now she's in South.
Okay, so she understands
Oh, yeah.
everything.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
I was just
Sure,
there.
it's a smaller hospital, but it's still, I feel.
That is nice.
Yeah,
It's very nice there. So
I've never been, but that's what I hear.
Where did you have them? Where did you have your kids?
I had them at HSC like the whole,
That was.
like the whole. school.
That was
Yes,
like done.
basically.
It's not a good
Yeah.
place.
No,
Oh.
mind you, the nurses were amazing.
Yeah, they were
like,
amazing.
Nothing.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about like the
Yeah,
rooms, like
like-
there was no space, that was hard.
No, yeah, but and then I had my second at St. B,
Mhm.
but then I ended up with a private room, so.
Speak only.
But then you have to pay for it. It's like,
No.
How did you?
Oh, really?
Well, Mariana said I have to pay for the room and I can't pay.
If you request for it, yes, but if you don't request for it and you end up with a
You
private
wait
room.
for them to give it to you and they're like, we're gonna give you a crummy room. You say, yeah, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it.
Yeah,
I'm
basically.
I'm ready to pay it. They're gonna give me the hallway.
It was full and I ended up in a private room. And I wasn't a complicated birth either, so they didn't need the doctors in there. It was just the nurses that took care of everything,
Mhm.
which is amazing. Like the nurses are just amazing in
Yeah.
that way where they just like take charge and they go at it.
Mhm.
So. And then Leo was born in Edmonton. Completely different.
Oh, wow. Better
No, we
than
have great nurses here. We have great nurses here.
So we're supposed to have a guest.
Oh, yeah.
Your guest not here?
My guest definitely is not here.
Where is he?
Do I have
Doing
anyone?
a side job.
Good.
It's great. We need money.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard lots about you. Like good things, but like I've never ever met you in person. And of
Okay.
course, like I have you guys on Facebook, so then oh, you looked familiar.
Okay.
And then I was trying to place it and it's funny. That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm kidding. Oh.
I know this person. Did you call him? No, why not?
I did. I'm gonna go return these keys really quick because if I don't, then we all know what happened to these keys.
Still here.
That's leggy.
Yeah, that is funny.
Okay, then.
It's delayed.
You changed it, it's kind of, the false spot in there.
Your bold spot?
Yeah, because it was more this side.
Oh,
So,
I think it's changed because of that.
yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can see my head in the corner of the.
Oh, look at that. It's not proper. Oh, it's-
That's-
it's not safe. Fill it in.
Hello.
Well,
Hey.
hi, maybe it's spoken again. How are you?
Christina.
Christina, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hey, hi.
Hey.
Hi, Ruth.
What are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Who's sitting here? Is it?
That's the computer that we sit there.
Oh, I think I just, you should just move forward. And sit with me. Yes. Sit back inside.
Did you get that name for me?
The guy, when I told him that, so he said, because he said he was already in asking another person
Okay.
that he just wanted to compare, stuff. So when I went into it, I had this,
Oh, do you?
it's, I don't know why, it's kind of like, not trusting, I don't know. People are sometimes very dodgy, I just
Some people are.
respect it.
Well, I'm just gonna tell everybody how much money he makes and where he spends it.
I don't know.
Really? No.
I just wrote it. And I don't just say things like.
They have shifts and then we're on call.
Yeah, everybody does their own
Certain
thing.
times.
Yeah,
Olu?
people are kind of like.
There's some nights.
How are you?
Oh, I'm good, how are you?
Good.
Don't need somebody
It's
there all the
you?
time. They do, you're the one thing.
Right. But, I get weekends off, but other people get me on the
Great.
weekend. Always something happens.
No kidding.
I don't stand. You stand up here a lot, I know.
I think that one's really lagging behind the agenda. You guys were.
That one?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
You were in the room for 5 minutes after you left.
That one,
Is the,
that works.
Yeah.
That's all I have two.
is the waiting room enabled? That's all. Actually, two people. Yes, Sarah's coming on.
Yep.
Just make sure that I.
They just changed all the, there we go. Nobody's in the waiting room.
You shall make them on.
Usually if it's Zoom, they come on at 3 minutes late because that's how Zoom works, right? We plan out on showing up late. I want to welcome everyone here today, and our plan today is to talk about finances and cash flow and debt and all the things that human beings don't talk about until they're 18 years old. And I thought when I was a child, adults are free to do whatever they want. And that's true if you're willing to go into debt. But once you want to get out of debt, you're no longer free because you have to keep your spending within your budget. But I see a lot of people that are free, and I see a lot of people. I think the financial industry misses this information. So when you go to your bank, I just had a workshop yesterday in Fisher Branch at a Home Depot. And one of the guests there works at a bank and never got her money right. Because she's like, we don't get people's money right. That's not our job. Our job is to give people what they want. I was like, that's totally different. We're here to give what you ultimately want, but not what you want this month. And Amy's gonna come up, and she's been running with us and campaigning with us for about 2 years now, and licensed for about a year. And going through our workshop. And if you want to take notes, you can. We get your workbook. But we got a couple people that might join on Zoom. We have Niels jumping in on Zoom. We have is it Foggy over there? And
It's raining.
it's raining over there, I can see, but his mic can pick us up or pick up from that mic there. And that mic. But Amy, come on up and
Hey, thank you very much. Hi, guys. Welcome here. My name is Amy, as you said, and we'll be talking more about cash flow and managing your debt. So sometimes we think about how to increase it. Really, we need to know how to really manage it and really maximize it. That's what we'll go over today.
I'm gonna test something. I think it's gonna work out well. I think we're gonna get the right screen on both sides,
Ooh,
not what I'm looking for.
so then I can like walk around.
So that if you stand in front of it, we don't say, hey, you're in front of the screen, I can't read it. Move over.
There we go. Now, is this thing working?
There you go.
There you go. Okay, so disclaimer. First of all, Just know that we are not here to give you advice. We do want you to connect with the person that brought you here and work with someone, but we do believe in giving you the information that you need to move forward. So it is for educational purposes only today. And so, yeah. Welcome to our, where am I? pointing?
No, if I make an adjustment, you lose your ability to click, so go ahead.
Okay.
It means I'm doing something if you can't click, that's what it means.
So let's test this.
There you go.
We're good. Okay. So welcome to our campaign. We have a campaign that is called the 30 by 30 Financial Literacy Campaign. And really what we are doing is we believe that financial education isn't an option. It really is a necessity. And then with the World System Builder, we are committed to educating and empowering 30 million families by 2030. And so sometimes we think about, okay, does that just take one person? And no, it doesn't. So we are actually on a movement to actually not just helping one family, but those families helping other families, helping other families, helping other families. And so we have actually the capacity where we can track people, but not only attract the person who wants to be an entrepreneur, but we can also maintain and retain them here. And it's all because of what we stand for and what we are part of and what we're building. So be part of the campaign that is revolutionizing the financial industry and build a system that bridges the financial education and financial independence. And we not just do that through our system here, we do that where people can come here, go through the regulator, get their license, and actually follow a system with us where they can be duplicatable. So welcome to our workshop. So every day we are flooded with different kinds of information. If you go on Facebook, you go on YouTube, you go on TikTok even, you'll find multiple people talking about money, but what kind of background do they have? Many offer financial advice, but they are often not licensed to speak about it, or they are not, they are also not vested in your interest. It really is in their interest, but they also don't have the experience with the industry to really speak about those. And oftentimes when you go into the field and you talk to someone who has been to, let's say, a bank or an institution, they can only speak about one or two aspects of your finances. They don't have like a holistic approach, which is what we do encourage here. So with our workshops, we can actually look at different things. Our different workshops, from the 6 workshops that we have, really does have a holistic approach where we can talk about your protection for your family. We can talk about how you are saving money for the future, how you are liquid or not liquid, and different aspects of your finances that do all come together, where it shouldn't just be 1 or 2 pieces of your puzzle that you're talking with a financial professional. It should be really a whole. And so that's what we talk about here. So our workshops really educate and empower you to become your own money manager. Okay. So your vision and your goals, when you speak about that, when I first came here and I was asked, where do you want to be in 5 years? I was really just trying to get through the month. In fact, I had a spreadsheet and I was very organized, but my spreadsheet really just told me how much I was going to make within those 2 weeks. And I even had it calculated to a science where I knew each shift that I needed to put through.
That strikes me out because I'm not a planner.
You know, Christina knows. I had a planner that literally, I knew that if I did 4 shifts, that it would actually equate. Go ahead.
I wanted to talk to my dad.
Okay. And so my planner actually had calculations of how much I would make if I worked X amount of shifts. And I did have my full-time shifts, but then I would add all the extra shifts, and then I was able to say, okay, if I work 4 extra, I'm making enough so I can pay for my
It
bills,
was awesome.
but I'm making just under so I don't hit the next tax bracket. And so that's really what I focused on every 2 weeks, and it didn't amount to what I would focus on in the next 5 years. And so next thing you know, 10 years goes by and you're still in the same position that you were when you had started that. So that's what got me to think, I'm like, okay, where's really my vision? Am I looking far enough? So sometimes we think about, okay, what will your net worth be? What will your retirement look like? How about your kids' education? Do you have insurance in place to protect your family? And all of those questions I didn't have any concept of. And so you really need to look at these goals. And if you can think of a couple things, I want you to take a minute or two to write down, let's say 2 goals. So I'll give you a minute and just write 2 goals that come to mind right now. They're included.
Oh, here.
If you're following on the workshop there, it could just be anywhere that you write the goals down, so for now. In the first couple of pages, there's what we call, you turn it over a little bit. There is actually here, there are your goals right there. So if you can just take a minute, write 1 or 2 goals that you can think of right now in the next 5 years, let's say. And when you think about where you want to be in 5 years, writing it down now is a great opportunity to then look back at it. It's not something that you concretely will now follow for the rest of your life, but then it gives you the opportunity. There's a power in your written pen where when you write it down, now you're thinking, okay, is this possible? Could this be possible for me? Is it something that I do like? Like, for example, if you're, a lot of people do this in the new year where they say, I want to lose X amount of weight. Right? So they write it down, they're like, I want to lose this much weight. And then they come back to it later, like an hour later, and they're like, actually, I don't think I want to lose that weight. I think I'm okay. I think I just need to work on this or I need to work on that. The same thing goes with your finances. So where do you want to be in the next 5 years? Having a vision for you and your family, that needs to be actually frequently reviewed so that you can stay on track. Does anybody want to give examples of what they have on their list? Just need 1 or 2. Rick?
I'm actually gone back to work because I didn't do all those things that I should have done.
Oh, wow, okay,
So I'm doing taxes because I need the extra spending money.
that's awesome,
That's why I'm doing them.
that's awesome. Anybody else for goals?
I can go.
Sure.
Well, my real estate thing held about $200,000. And a trucking company, about 5 trucks of them. You see that happening?
Awesome. So increasing cash flow and managing your debt. What you'll learn today is really 4 ways in this industry where you can actually manage and increase your cash flow. So you'll discover $100 or more that you didn't know you had. Okay. Also find out where your money is going. Those are a couple of different ways. And then we talk about building a real plan to be out of debt faster, where you can come here and actually learn this or connect with the person that brought you here, and you can actually learn, okay, do I have a plan? Or are we kind of just looking at it every month and just paying it, but not really knowing where it's going? Right? So how to increase your cash flow as well. So we know that money isn't the greatest asset, but applied knowledge is. Oftentimes we think about, okay, if we have the knowledge, do we apply it? If we increase our skill, are we applying it so that we can actually gain more money? Or are we just going day by day, not increasing ourselves, not growing? And then things don't go through, things stay stagnant, things stay the same. And our plans don't go through because we're not looking for enough, right? Did you play with it? No, okay. There are only 2 ways to increase your cash flow. So 1, spend less. Can anyone guess the next one? Very good. Those are the 2 ways that you can actually increase your cash flow. So some people talk about spending less as in, okay, we're now choking everything in our budget. So if that's the case, are there ways that you can go ahead and earn more money? Because that's the only 2 ways that things can balance out. You're either spending less or earning more, or doing both at the same time so that you can actually get to your goals. Right? So it's not about how much you make, but it really is about how much you keep. I have an example about this. Our children were asking us about money, and so we're actually talking about opening an account for them so that they can actually start managing it. Because they were given some Christmas money and this kind of money, but they just had it in their wallets. And after a year, and not even a year, it's half a year now, they, each one of them had a lot less than what they started off with. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna build an incentive for you guys to start either saving your money or at least keeping most of it. And so we have a lot of questions about, well, how do we keep it? How do we save it? And so I believe that these are things that we need to teach our children earlier on, where they shouldn't just at the first opportunity that they can spend the money or they can buy that chocolate bar, that they just buy it. There should at least be an incentive to keep some of it, so that if they have a bigger goal, that they can actually achieve that. So we are starting an account for them so that at least they can start doing that on their own, young, so that when they're older, they understand that the value of money is just not just having it and spending it right away and on things that they just want. So the first concept we talk about is pay yourself first. And there's a couple ways that you can do that. First, you save, then you spend. Most people is they get their paycheck, they then spend all their money on their bills and everything else. And they try to proactively save. And when we say proactive, we talk about attempting. We attempt to save, but then we spend everything before there's anything left at the end of the month. So if there's nothing left at the end of the month, then we have to change the way we do things. So this concept of paying yourself first is really taking care of your family first. Are you sending money to the future self that you have and to your future, like to the kids that you have for their future? Or are you spending everything now without consideration of later on? Right? We talk about path of financial independence, where if we do it the first way, where you can save first and then spend, you're actually on the right path. But if you do it on the second way, yes, you'll probably be okay, but you'll probably need to work for the rest of your life. That also means that, you know, I've never wanted to be forced to work. You know, when you're younger, you put your head down and you work, you just go to work, you get it done. But as you get older, like we talk about our parents, I don't want our parents to have to look back and now have to be a grocery greeter because they don't have enough at the end of every month. So I truly believe in also taking care of our parents. And if I want to take care of my parents, I also have to make sure that I have enough and we have enough as a family unit to make sure we can do those things.
No, it's working. It takes a second. It does.
So yeah, so making the first payment to your family, to your children, the future, and then spend what's left. I think I like making the action, even though it should be like, I didn't make it. So there is a couple ways to kind of track where you spend your money. So if I guess I didn't send you the slide, but there are 4 different categories that you can kind of subcategorize with spending money. Okay, so you've got your housing, you've got your vehicle and your transportation, where that could be pretty much anything. And those things can be managed too. And the third one could be the food that you eat. So maybe you're on a budget for your food as well, or maybe that's where you spend the most. Or maybe the food that you're spending is not the grocery, but it's eating out or the coffees and things like that. And then the 4th is leisure. So if you were to actually look at your budgeting, because a lot of people find it a little overwhelming to go through every single line in your bank account. But if there is something that you feel is going overboard, those are the things now that you have to track. Like, for example, leisure. If you're gonna track your leisure, you put the item down and then the amount. Where leisure, you actually do want to have leisure in your life. When I sit down with someone and we're going through the budget and I kind of get like this feeling that they're upset that they spend more in leisure, that's actually where you want to be spending your money. Not where you have lots of debt with cars or a really big house that you cannot maintain, but then you have no time with your family because you can't go out and spend it with them. And you can't go and actually enjoy yourself. Now, that being said, you also have to manage your income to match that. So if your income does not match your lifestyle, then it does not make sense altogether, right? So those are like 4 different categories that you can kind of subcategorize where it's easier to kind of manage, okay, where am I going a little overboard? Where can we kind of cut down? Or where do we need to put more of our money in so that we can have more in the family? Make sense? So paying is more convenient than ever, but don't lose control of how much you spend. Ask yourself, if I pay with credit, am I able to pay it off? We do something what we call a personal financial strategy. There's this sheet here. If you connect with the person that brought you here, you'll actually be able to go through this with them. And if not, that is also a strategy that you can use for yourself to see if you're on track. Now, I do this every once in a while to actually go through, okay, am I really on track with the goals that I had set? Have my goals changed? Has my income changed? And have my monthly expenses changed? Also my assets and liabilities, so that at least at the end of the month I can say, okay, do I have more cash flow this month that I can put towards something else? Or do I need to increase certain things in my life or decrease? Kind of gives you kind of like a measuring stick. So the important is to reevaluate where your money is going every month. So check your progress, new possible savings, automatic payments. Reoccurring is good, but sometimes we do lose track. All right. So part of reevaluating is looking at the different things in your budget. So these are kind of a couple ideas that we can give you that can actually help you. So we talked about tax refund. We just did our taxes. Is most of your money going towards your tax refund, where you can actually ask HR to help you with those amounts, so that money actually goes to you first instead of at the end of the year, right? Because if you're paying too much to the government and they're giving you a refund, that's money that you could have accessed every single month instead of at the end of the year. Keeping a warmer or cooler house. That's always the fun part when you have a spouse that likes it warmer or cooler and trying to navigate that. But if you can kind of control this in your house, then it actually helps you with your bills as well. My dad used to keep, well, I shouldn't say used to, he still does. Our house used to be very cold and us girls lived in the basement. And I can still remember us having sweaters on and like our, we had these like knit, what do you call it? Like, yeah, like, slip-ons, yeah. We had these knit slip-ons and we'd still be cold and we'd be looking at mom, like, Mom, save us. And she's like, I'm tied. Your dad has put it low. It's supposed to be low at this time of the year. So just like keep warm other ways. But that is one of the ways that we actually saved in the house. So eliminate or reduce premium cable or satellite services. So if there's premium cable or satellite services that you use, great. But if it's something that you don't use in the house, then don't pay for it. For example, we weren't using Disney as much, and we would use it only once in a while when we cut it off. Because it doesn't make sense to have something if you're not using it. Or some people have a phone bill that is connected to a cable service, but they don't use the phone anymore, the landline, and then the cable service are only using 1 or 2 shows. So is there a possibility to stream that online instead, or different ways to do that you don't have to actually pay that premium? Use coupons, groceries, dining out. That's great. I do that for eating out for fast food restaurants, which then you're saving that way. Like if you're specifically going on, let's say Wednesday, it's Whopper Wednesday today. Or there used to be a time where there was like a deal on every single day. My mom used to do all of them. And we would only go out if there was a deal out. So we would actually look for those deals as kids to actually ask our parents if we can go out as a family, so that we would. And so that's another way to help with spending. You touched it.
Yeah.
Reduce the money, the number of lattes, alcohol, cigarettes each month. How much do people pay for lattes nowadays? Does anyone know? No? Okay, so I know coffees at Tim Hortons are about $2 each. Anyone drink coffee here? From Tim's? Okay, all right. So coffees at Tim Hortons are about $2. I know McDonald's is a little bit cheaper. But if there's a way for you to make it home, you'll actually see how much you save. For example, teas, I know the teas are about $3 a Tim's. If you go home, put the same tea bag in your cup, it actually is only a couple, like 10 cents or 20 cents. Same with coffee. I had a coworker that drank Starbucks every single day. And we had a coffee that we both liked. That's like a pouch coffee. And she was complaining because the coffee, she said, oh, it went up $2. And I'm talking like 30 of them cost $10. And it went up to $12. So she's like, oh, it's so expensive now. And I kind of got her to think, I'm like, well, your Starbucks that you're drinking right now, how much is that? She goes, $6. I was like, well, mine just cost me 40 cents. So at the end of the day, if you can save in a different way, try to find that way, even if it means waking up like 5 minutes earlier in the morning just to make your coffee. And that's what it is. Eat out early, choose happy hour menus. So if you guys know, most of the menus that are on happy hour are between like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, to like 4, because that's usually the dead time in the restaurants. So if you meet at those times, those are the best times. Pack your own lunch. That concept in itself is saving. So like $10, $12 every single day, that can add up, right? Consider buying used cars. I am grateful that this man loves used cars because I am not one to go to the dealership and spend $30,000 on a car. Really am not. And we've actually saved lots of money by just doing this instead of actually spending money on payments, because the typical payments that I see with most people, it's between $600 and $800 every single month. And sometimes that's their biweekly payment. And they think, oh, I got a great deal. And then 2 years later, you meet with them and they say, yeah, I leased a new car. And it's frustrating because I can see that they want to get somewhere. But simply as buying used cars could actually save you a lot of money in the long term if you maintain the car. So if you can maintain the car, you can find ways to learn how to do your own oil changes or get the guy that knows how to do the changes. Then it actually helps, right? Like every dollar counts. So reevaluate your home and auto insurance on a regular basis. Learning your deductibles and learning how much you are charged at AutoPack with MPI is important. Sometimes you have things on your auto insurance that you don't know about. Sometimes it's, I don't have examples, but there's some things on your auto insurance that don't need necessarily, but that's on there, that's tacked on there, that they kind of go, you like this, you like this, great, 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 sign. And then you have no idea what you're paying for. Save by carpooling, walking, biking, taking public transport, pretty self-explanatory, and reduce or cancel extra cell phone charges or data. So with WRHA, I know we do have a discount for WRHA before. And other companies do offer different discounts depending on who you're with. So it's always good to look into that and look into, okay, what does your corporate entity offer you for expenses? If you have your own cell phone, why keep your own landline? How many here have parents that still have their landlines? My mom for the longest time, and then they finally got tired of all the calls that they would get that were random. And so they said, okay, now I think it's time to get rid of this landline. But if you have an old landline that you don't use, that there is no purpose for it, really, if it doesn't have a purpose, don't have it. That really is what it boils down to. Like for your video games, I know there are video games out there that people play, that's a subscription base. But what I didn't know is that you can buy the DVD for 30 bucks, and it gives you pretty much the same quality as the one that you would if you could stream it every single month. So cut down on online subscriptions. How many have gone through your phone, through Google, and then listed all the subscriptions that you had and said, I never knew that I had all this? I went through that because when I was doing my business taxes, I started to go through every single expense on my sheet, and I didn't understand why certain expenses were there. So when I went back on Google, I realized that I had certain subscriptions that were taking about 50 bucks a month. And I said, okay, well, these are things I definitely don't need. These I do need, but these I don't use. So cutting down on online subscriptions, customized magazine subscriptions, or automatic renewals. Sometimes the catch is that it says you're subscribed until January of 2025. So you keep it until then, but then you don't realize that it resubscribed. So that's kind of like, okay, if I don't need it and I'm thinking about it now, cancel. That's what it boils down to. Gym memberships, find alternate ways to exercise. So some people use outdoors. I know in Winnipeg, it's not very ideal considering the winter time, but there are different ways to find alternative ways to exercise. Cancel or lower accidental death dismemberment policies. There are a lot of people selling policies that are accidental that actually don't benefit you on the long term. So if you have one of these policies, you really have to reevaluate if it is what you are trying to protect in your long-term goal with your family, because oftentimes these policies can be as expensive as a life policy, which the chances of either to happen, the chances of the life insurance to happen, as opposed to dismemberment policy, is actually higher. So you want to look at these things and see, okay, what is my plan for the long run? Is it something I absolutely need? Cut down on shopping, clothes and gadgets. Whether it's going to the shopping mall without cash, without needing anything, then don't go. Whether it's being on Amazon, I think most things are a habit, right? So if your first instinct is to go on Amazon, are you actually needing that object or that device or whatever it is that you're buying? Or is it just a habit of you going on and paying for it and it coming to your door? Right? Credit, auto loan, appliances, cycle, trailers, items that you would finance. So these are bigger items that you would finance, where it's, if I'm going to finance this, it would be better for you to have the cash, save the cash, and pay for it on cash, if that's really your family's goal to have a trailer or other things like that, instead of going and financing it, because you're giving money to a company for, like, with your interest, instead of paying your family with that interest. So if you don't have the cash on hand, it's probably a better idea that you just save the money first and then buy it. Household services, cleaning and repair. So most of it, if you can do it on your own, why not? Business tax deductions. If you guys are in business or deciding to go into business or thinking about it, this is an area where you do need to learn a lot of your own business taxes and the advantages it has for you. Because when you have a business tax deduction, then you can actually, I wouldn't say manipulate is not the right word, but if you can actually use that to your advantage so that you can put a lot of your money back into your own business, then it will serve you long term. But a lot of people go about doing their taxes, and I know you probably can
They
relate
don't
to
know what
this.
they can do and what
They
they
have
can't
no
do. They
idea.
have no idea. You need a
No
good tax
idea.
person like me.
Yeah, so we do some of the taxes in-house here, but knowing your business taxes and what you can actually take off and what you can actually claim is important, because you can actually gain more money that way as well as save. Avoid ATM machines, fees, checking, savings. How many of you guys look at your bank account and you're like, shoot, I got another fee that came out? I did my, I've done my taxes and I actually went and calculated all the fees that came out. I'm like, okay, so this is an area I need to be more disciplined in to make sure that I don't get dinged on all the fees. Because most people, if you actually don't have the liquidity, they're actually suffering more from paying fees than they actually are in terms of saving. So if we can help someone get out of debt and actually help them with just even keeping up every month, then that will actually save them from paying these fees every single month. And be creative, refrain from overspending on gifts. My daughter was asking me, Mom, can I buy this for my friend? Can I buy this for my friend? This is a great example of that. My daughter's very creative. And so we're like, let's think of ideas of where we can come up, where we can actually make something for your friend. We can buy something small, but then make something that actually you thought of her or you thought of him, and this is what you're gonna give them. Same thing with any other type of, it doesn't need to usually be big. It's just the idea of you thinking about that person and about making something and be creative actually sometimes helps, like, is more memorable and thoughtful than actually just buying them something at the store. Just because you needed to for their birthday. So wants versus needs. Everything can easily be a want. Everything can easily be a need. I can easily say, I absolutely need that Ford F-150 because, but do you actually need it? Or is it really a want, or is it actually serving a purpose in your life and serving a purpose for you? So that is the potential for cash flow. You can save and apply. What is the potential cash flow you can save and apply to your credit, to your debt? So once you've kind of gone through your budget, the reason why we've left lines blank, and it's in your workshop book there, it's actually to actually go over your finances and say, okay, where are the places that you think that you can identify that you can actually save more money? So these normally can add up to a big cost where the money that you were spending there, if you were to apply it here, how much would you make in 10, 20, 30 years? How much would that be? It could be the difference of actually spending that money and not having it in the future for your family, to actually having 40,000, 140,000, 400,000. What does that mean to you and your family later on? Could that go towards the new home that you need for your growing family? Could that be going towards your retirement fund that you have not started, but you're thinking that you need for your family? Or could that be to pay off some of the debt that you did have that could actually increase your credit score? Which ways could you use this money? If you don't think about it though, if you don't look at these things, will you actually be where you want to be in 5 years from now, where your goals are, or will you still remain the same that you are today if we don't change? Right? We talk about why are you saving? Remember your goals. And of course, so this is kind of the language that we use in terms of like, so assets, liabilities, and net worth. What is an asset? In short, something that has monetary value. What's a liability? A claim on your asset. What is your net worth? It is your assets minus your liability. So if we want to win in the financial game, we need to know the rules and the languages. So simply put, assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out of your pocket. And then the rich buy assets, the middle class buy liabilities that they think are assets.
The cars.
Like cars. It's a great example. I had a friend who bought a $500,000 house only to sell it a year later because things did not work out, and they were both now working, both him and her were working like crazy. And she made a comment, she said, yeah, we're house rich, but then we're just poor. Like, we have no time. Like, I'm constantly just working to pay this. So is your income matching your lifestyle? So did you pick your lifestyle first, or did you pick your income? Just like in school, we talk about Do you go to school because you are wanting to do something you love? Or are you going to school, like if you're looking at your kids and you're having a conversation with them, and you say, okay, would you rather your kids go to school for something that they love? Or would you rather them go to school because you want them to succeed and become something that is bigger so that they can make income that they can actually survive? A lot of people go towards like, I want them to do something they love, but don't realize that the cost of that is way more. So are you picking your lifestyle and then your income where it doesn't match up? Or are you picking your income and then matching up your lifestyle? Typically speaking, you want to actually spend half of what your income is. So if you're over that, then technically speaking, there's some things that need to change. What do you think? Is a new luxury car, high-end purse, or tech toy an asset or a liability?
Liability.
Liability, yes. What about a new home? True. It depends.
It takes money out of your pocket until you actually sell it, so
That's correct.
liability, while you have it.
While you have it, yes. So if it's not making income or if it's not paying itself, which I think that's the case that you're asking, then it is a liability at that point. Can we reduce our liabilities and cut down our debt? So that is like the big question. With commitment, discipline, of course, you can get out of debt. So most people ask, how do you do that, right? So we look at different accounts. Is this an asset? Is it a liability? Those are all things that you can go through with your own finances on the personal finance sheet. With your financial professionals, look at, okay, what is actually contributing to my future and what is actually taking away from my future? And really what we look at is, okay, are we actually at the end of the month, are we bringing back money that we can work with? Do we have liquidity or are we spending everything where we're paycheck to paycheck to paycheck? So we take the total income that you make as a family household, total assets contributed, so whatever you're paying every month for towards your assets, minus your liabilities, minus expenses. How much is left over a month? I find every time I sit down with a client and we go through this, they're shocked that they either have lots of cash flow and they have no idea where it goes every month, or that the number is a lot lower than they thought it would be. Right? So it's just like a habit that we have. If you were to put your fingers together, you put them together in the same way every single time. So I want everybody to put their hands together and see which way it goes. Like what feels
If you're to clasp your hands.
if you were to clasp your hands together.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And now I want you to take that same position and put it the other way around. How's it feel?
Awkward.
A little weird, right? Same thing with like putting your buttons on in the morning or couple more example, or if you cross your arms, you cross it the same way, or if you cross it the other way, do you feel awkward? Right? We're all a creature of habit. So the same thing goes with the way you reach for your wallet or the way you pull into Tim Hortons. It's the same thing. It's the same habit every day. It's the same. But that's also a good thing, because if it's a habit that you created, it's also a habit that you can get out of and that you can recreate a new habit. So, like building a house, its strength comes from a strong foundation. So this is really the blueprint of our business of where we help people in terms of finding like the four corners basically of the financial industry. So we talk about proper protection, debt management, emergency fund, and investments. And we actually want you to look at this because really the four numbers here do play in each other. If you're spending most of your money on debt management, is there enough money going towards proper protection to cover your family? So that if there were an emergency that you have the money to actually cover yourself for everything else. Or if you're just spending on debt management, then you don't have enough for an emergency fund. But if we have enough for everything and we set you up with a plan, then it's actually more well-rounded. So common forms of debt. We talk about mortgages, student loans, credit loans, and car loans. And the credit card debt is something that we can grow fast if left unchecked. It's also something that we can manage better now as well. So these are the common debts. So when a household can actually reach well over 2.2 trillion. So this is not news to any of us. So if we look at the debt amounts, and if we actually Google like how much debt does a typical or an average family in Canada have, the numbers that are coming up there are not a shocking number because most people actually have that kind of debt. Right? And Canadians carry an average credit card debt balance over $3,330 every month. And part of the overall average is $20,000 in consumer debt, and that's not including a mortgage. And the cost of debt, for example, let's say you have $5,000 in credit card debt, the minimum payment is $200. Really, what we're saying is, if we can actually help a family take that $200 and cancel and actually cancel that credit card, or actually keep the credit card, clear it, then we have an extra $200 that we can actually put towards your foundation for your family. Right? Of the $200, 78 is paid towards interest, and only 122 is actually paying towards your debt. So most people don't actually know that most of the money that they put towards it is actually just covering their interest. So only paying the minimum, if you just pay the minimum, you're actually spending more in interest than you actually are in spending on actually canceling it off. So is it really benefiting you to have a credit card, or is it costing you? I have people who say, well, I need a credit card in order to build up my credit. Well, if you're building up your credit, are you looking at how much it's costing you in debt if you don't take care of it? Do you have the discipline to take care of your debt too? Because if you have multiple credit cards, that's great. But if you don't have the discipline to actually have them, then you shouldn't have them. The real cost of debt. Now we can go over amounts here, where if we have $5,000 plus the $78 monthly that you did spend, and say you put it in an investment account, 8% over 30 years is $156. So instead of paying it towards $156,000, sorry, thank you. That money could have gone towards your family. Right? So that's just one example of how the richer get richer and the poor get poorer. So make a plan to live debt-free. Live within your means and not to increase your debt. Understand how your credit card works, how your minimum payment works, and how if you do increase at least your minimum payment, you'll actually get out of debt sooner. And don't apply for more credit cards with a higher limit. It doesn't make sense. If you can't manage what you already have, you shouldn't get any more. Right? Many credit card issuers allow to freeze your card to prevent from new purchases on your account. If it's the case that you're like, okay, I need to discipline myself now, I need to stop using it for now so that I can pay it off. So you can actually do that if you don't feel that you do have a discipline. Build a habit of using cash or debit and work towards paying off your balance. So is there a better way? We talked about the debt roll-up system, the snowball effect. This actually was one of the biggest things that really, when I saw this workshop and I saw the debt roll-up, I said, I was actually in this position where I was doing exactly the same thing. And it gave me hope to know that I was actually on the right track. And I worked with a family last year where we had saved as a family over $100,000 in interest just by moving some of their finances around, where now they had liquidity in cash, but they were also able to take some of their investments, pay off their debt. But now because what didn't make sense was their investment was making them 6%, but they were paying 20% in interest on all their credit and loans. And we're like, you're better off paying this off first, putting you in a better investment and placing you in a better position. And that way, we actually saved them $100,000. This is how we did it. So say this is a typical family. These are typical balances that families do have. Okay? And we have here, let's say the minimum payments that you pay on your accounts. And say this is how much you spend every single month on these payments. If you were to add $100 every month, this is the result it would get. Right now, you're paying this off in 30 years. This is the reality of it. If you are consistent with these payments. If you were to be disciplined and take the extra $100 that you now found in your budget that you cannot no longer spend, that you don't have to spend, sorry, you can put it towards this, which would allow you to actually roll it up. So instead of paying just $10, you would 10 times that, $100 towards that and be 110. Now you're canceling it out in 2 months instead of 90. When you're done that, take that 110, roll it up to your next debt, XYZ credit card, and actually pay it off not in 25 months, but in actually 6 months. Whatever amount that you're paying there, now you're gonna take that whole total, put it to your home improvement goal, pay for that pool that you installed, right? Add the 135 to the $50 you were paying before, and now you're out of debt in 12 months for that, instead of 38. This goes on for the whole track. If you are able to put that $100 extra, only $100, we're not asking you to make a huge change. Just a small change like this, it can actually equate to saving you, instead of doing this for 30 years, you're only doing it in 17 years. There you go. 17 years. And that is with a mortgage completely paid off. Who here would like a mortgage completely paid off? Right? It alleviates a lot, because now you can actually take this money that you're spending here and put that towards the goals that you had. Sometimes it takes 10 years to get out of debt, takes that decade to help you get out of debt, but sometimes it took you 10 years to get there. But if, again, you don't do anything now about it, where will you be in the future? Right? So these are some extra numbers. If you were to add an extra 300 or an extra 1,000, how many years you would get out of debt? So the difference of an additional $100, it can make a huge difference. So if you guys want to take a second, this is the scan tool to help you with a debt roll-up plan. You also have that in your toolbox there. You can also get together with your financial professional and they can actually help you with that plan. So true or false? Once a credit card line is paid off, is it a good idea to close that account? No, it is
No.
not. We don't recommend closing all of the accounts because they are actually important in establishing your credit. But let me ask you this. What is more important? Building your credit or building your liquidity? Liquidity, that's correct. Because you can have all the credit in the world, but if you do not have the cash, you're still not going anywhere. So build liquidity first and get rid of your debt, and then your credit score will build automatically. I found it interesting. I had about 4 years ago, I had 6 accounts that were all in collections, and my credit score was just garbage. But I worked at the debt roll up and paid it off within 8 months. Everything was cleared, everything was paid off. And I understood that I actually couldn't do anything for 6 years now because everything was on my accounts. But within the last 4 years, my credit score actually doubled just by paying everything off. So sometimes it's just a matter of getting current. And most people don't even know that even your cell phone bill can actually affect your credit. So a higher credit score may help you receive better lending terms and larger purchases in the future. And, you can go through Equifax or TransUnion. There are other places that you can also go. But, yeah, develop good long-term habits, build up your credit and manage your finances with responsibility and discipline. So what will you change to save more money? How will your family feel when you accomplish your plan to get debt free? Do you have a plan with your family? Maybe it's something that you need to sit down with your whole entire family, not just you and your husband, but you and your children. Do they want to do things? Maybe that'll be a motivation for your dreams and your goals to get there faster. My oldest son and my two sons, actually, they always talk about going to Legoland and wanting to travel more. Last year, we did a trip to Calgary, and because we had a goal that if we were to reach a certain amount, that we would do that. Or if they were to reach a certain educational amount, with their grades at school, that we would actually go and do different things. So if you come together with your family to come with a plan, it'll actually help you propel forward. So one of the questions you've got to ask yourself is, are you profiting from the decisions you're making today? Or is it your employment that is profiting, or your government? I had to ask myself that question really deeply when I first started, because I'm like, okay, if I'm giving all these hours to the hospital, how many hours am I giving to my family? And how much is really coming in for me? Who's really getting all the profit? Can I be replaced tomorrow? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's no problem. They can get someone to replace me, no problem.
They have a list of people to call.
Me too.
They have a guy who does his job.
I'm the one who calls them. Or
Yeah.
are you doing something to change your future where you have control over certain things where you can actually help other families get in the same position? Right? Does the bank have control of what you do every day? Does the government control your spending or your life? Are you dependent on the money that comes in from the government to the point that you are now basically a slave? That where can you move things where you now have more flexibility and you can actually plan for your goals and not have your goals plan you? Right, we talk about today, there are many opportunities on how you can increase your cash flow, and just remember never to lose sight of your goals and the reason why you do it. So is there a way that you can gain the skills to maybe communicate better with your employer and ask for a raise? If you're a hard worker and you're doing what you need to do, you've been diligent, you've been loyal to the company, there shouldn't be a reason why you shouldn't be able to ask for one, even regardless of union. You have no idea how much your next door neighbor who's working beside you is making. Sometimes it is unionized, but sometimes there's like an increase that they've had that you don't know about. So we talk about asking nicely. Work overtime. I have some people who are like, no, I just want to come in and go home. I don't understand why you work all these hours. Yeah, I have goals. And yeah, goals are you spending the time extra to work to get that, or are you at least building your skill on the side on the time that you're sitting to actually gain more and putting back into your life? Right? Work a part-time job. Start a part-time business. Here, the reason I was able to convert to only 5 days a week instead of full-time and overtime was because I put the time here. I was starting to recognize, okay, I'm now putting enough time here at the hospital, but I'm not gaining anything. But if I put more time here, it's actually going to gain me more long-term than it is. And I've started to see the fruit of that. So will you shrink your dream to fit your income? Or are you going to increase your income so that your dreams fit? So that same question of like lifestyle and income, which one is kind of going higher or lower? I can find ways to save money by consistently reevaluating my monthly expenses. So it's really about reevaluating. Really about looking at that. Can I manage my debt and plan to pay for them off faster by a debt roll-up? or just like keeping discipline with the plan. And sometimes if you need a month break from the plan, you still need to get back on the plan afterwards. But there still is a stop and go that you can actually have, flexibility. In addition to saving more and spending less, can you always find more ways to earn more money? What else did you guys learn today on what would help you increase your cash flow? Really? All right, crickets.
I was gonna say, like, it took me a lot of times of listening to this before I actually got rid of our landline.
Oh, really?
It's like $200 a year,
Yeah.
$500 a year.
And, and then even going through my credit card statements and going, what the heck? I thought I canceled with Netflix, it's still, I'm paying for it,
Right.
and realizing things like that are on there that, that I thought I had given up and somehow it didn't go through or whatever.
Right.
So there are things that, have value that make a difference, and like you say, those little things do add up.
They do. It's all the small things that you don't realize that are on there.
Mhm.
But then sometimes it's also the big things where you say, okay, do I really need this big expense, or can I be okay with something smaller for now, pay it off, and then move on? No, that's great. I believe that's the end. So that's page 33. Yeah, on my clicker again.
Oh, let me see. There you go.
There we go. Okay. Do you think if people understood what the liabilities were, they would have less debt? Right? Wouldn't living debt-free be a less stressful way to live? At one point, I was receiving phone call after phone call after phone call. I was dealing with all payments. We were behind all the time. I'm like, there must be a better way. There must be a better. And at the time, it was like, okay, we're doing some career changes. I have to just like manage it for now, but it is not a way to live, not long term. A time when you have no debt pay or payments, how much simpler was life? And you think back when you were 20 and you were just in university and a young lad, if you will, you didn't really have that many worries. And I think it's important that not only that we think about these things for us now, but that we now start to teach our children the same thing. But we will teach our children what it is that we do. So if we are doing something that needs to be changed, we cannot teach it unless we are doing it. So if you could use your income for building financial freedom, how much better would your life actually look, right? And how would you feel with none of those financial liabilities, where you know where you're going and you're actually set, where you have things that are actually you can look forward to and not things that you're just dreading at the end of every month, right? What would that feel like for you? How would it feel like to know that your family is taken care of? How would it feel like to know that you can bring your mom home if you need to bring your mom home? How would it feel like to know that your children are taken care of if something were to happen to you? How would it feel like to know that you have their education covered in case they want to go to school? Or you can take that money and give it to them as a gift so that they can build a business and start it up. All these things is their legacy building, not just for you, but now for your family and for your legacy. Right? We talk about taking action. We have a WC community website, or not website, but a Facebook page that talks really about how people who are winning here and how these workshops are impacting them. This is just one example of them. One of the greatest miracles that you can have is that you can change your life simply by the way you think. So instead of things costing you, how are they impacting your life? So it's sometimes just a matter of flipping the switch of how do I make a change instead of being complacent in where you are today. But yeah, we talk about connecting with the person who invited you, be part of the 30 million families. Very passionate about this. There is a long way to go, but we are not very far either. And so we want you to be part of this movement. We want you to be part of this campaign with us. We are talking about different topics all throughout the next couple of weeks here. So May and June, come join us every Wednesday. We're talking about property protection next week, and I'll cover all the insurance. Some people think that insurance is just one bubble, but it's many types of bubbles that not everything fits in one person's field. It could be 2 things that you have or 3 things that you might need in your financial plan. But yeah, thank you for coming tonight, and we'll come join us on our workshops.
Thank you.
No more clicker, okay.
No.
Put it down.
No more clicker.
No more clicker. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I was trying not to. That's usually how you can help me. You're missing. It's red. All right. The main thing is, I think they want. Then it's. Should we?
Waiting for hours and listen to hear the sunrise. Goodbye, Fehr-Krahn, and my name's la la la. It's like la la la. Yeah, I love it when you call me. Send me out of time. I wish I could fit in the places. But every time it's all I want to be. It's true, it's not me. Oh, what's your name?
Well, there's some cinder right there. Yeah, close that.
Good.
Close that.
Well, I heard you say scared, so I'm wondering, that's why I repeated just.
End meeting for all. Yeah.